Okay, the next problem wants us to find a degree 3 polynomial whose coefficient is 1, and it gives us the zeros. So x minus 4 if 4 is a 0, then x minus 4 is a factor. If negative 2i is a 0, then x plus 2i would be a factor, and if positive 2i is a 0, then x minus 2i would be a factor. So we need to multiply this out, and that gives us our polynomial. I'll do the first two first, because we know that's like conjugates. So this turns into x squared minus 4x or minus 4i squared. I squared is negative 1, so it'll be x squared plus 4. And we need to multiply that by x minus 4. So that gives us x cubed plus 4x minus 4x squared minus 16. So I'll write that in standard form as x cubed minus 4x squared plus 4x minus 16. And that's what they want right here. Okay, the next problem gives us a cubic polynomial and it has a root at x equals 3. And then they want the complex roots. So if a root is at x equals 3, I can divide 3 in and find out what's left over. And we know there's going to be a quadratic left over in that case. So let's drop down to 4, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, and we get no remainder, which is good. And we have this quadratic, 4x squared plus negative 4x plus 9 equals 0. So now I'm going to use the quadratic formula, opposite of b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So this turns into a negative number right here, which is negative 128. And this turns into 8. So I can break this up into 4 plus or minus the square root of 64 times 2, because I'm going to pull out the biggest perfect square I can to simplify this. We can evaluate the square root of negative 1, that's just I. We can evaluate the square root of 64, that's just 8. So it turns into this, which we can make 1, if we divide 8 into both, we have 1/2 plus or minus I square root of 2. And so those are our two answers. Okay, the next problem says y is directly proportional to the sales price x. So there's the sales price. And there's the tax, sales tax. An item that sells for 146, so they give us this value, x, has a sales tax of 10.22. So we can do is find that k, that constant, which in this case is the rate, the sales rate. And our answer for that will give us the equation that they're looking for, which is 0.07, so 7%. So our equation is y equals 0.07x. And then what's the sales tax on a $380 purchase? So we'll plug in 380 here into our equation. And that will give us the sales tax, which is $26.60. Okay, the stopping distance d for the next problem is directly proportional to the square root of v, speed. So we can translate that English sentence to math. And then it says a car required 70 feet to stop, so they gave us d, when it was going 80 miles per hour. So that will give us k. We plug it in and solve. And we don't care about the units for this as long as when they give us the next part to answer, that our units are the same as far as speed, because they give us a speed here, so we need to make sure that it's in miles per hour for both of them. Because basically k will have units on it, right? And those units will work out as long as we're using the same units for a new value that we're looking for. So that's something to keep in mind. Divide both sides by 80 squared here, and that gives us a k. It's a decimal, so I'm just going to do math fraction in the calculator and give it as a fraction. This is be easier. So that goes in right here, 7 over 640. So there's our equation that they want for d in terms of v. And then they want to know if the car is traveling 59 miles per hour. So we plug in 59 here and square it and multiply it by that k value. And that gives us the distance it takes to stop, which is 38.07 feet. Is what those units were in. Okay, the next question says f varies inversely with g. So there's going to be some constant of variation. And it says f is 27 when g is 6. So multiply both sides by 6, and that gives us k, which in this case is 162. And that goes in right here. to give us our relationship. And then they want to know what f is when g is 9, so plug in 9. So 162 divided by 9 gives us 18. Last problem then says you're hiking along the California coast and wondering about the height of a big redwood tree. It says you are 5 feet tall, and it says that you're 5 feet 9. I made this mistake in the homework. This is 5 feet 9 inches. I missed that 9 inches in the homework, which is important. The shadow of the tree is 351 feet, and your shadow is 9 feet. Okay? So we talked about this because the angle of the sun is the same here. We have, it's a right angle here. We have angle-angle similarity from geometry, so we have two similar triangles. And we can set up a proportion then of ratio of corresponding sides. So we can do height to height, for example, is equal to shadow to shadow. So you do big to small, in that order that should work. Now this 5 feet 9 inches I need to get in just feet. So I'm going to take that 9 inches and convert it to feet by multiplying by 1 foot is equivalent to 12 inches. The inches cancel. 3 goes into this 3 times, into this 4 times, so it's 3/4 or 0.75. So what I'm going to do is take that 0.75 and add it to the 5. So I have 0.75 feet. And then that way I'm in feet. And I can multiply, actually I can just multiply both sides by 5.75 to get rid of this. And that gives me my answer, which is 224.25 feet. All right, I hope this helps.